I thought I knew my father. 20 years after his death, I was finally ready to clean out our old family home. Mom had moved to assisted living, and it was time to sell the house where I grew up. Room by room, I packed away memories, donated furniture, and sorted through decades of accumulated life. That's when I found it. Behind a loose baseboard in Dad's old workshop, wrapped in plastic and duct tape like some kind of time capsule, a leather-bound diary I'd never seen before. The cover was worn, edges frayed from years of handling. Inside the front cover, in Dad's unmistakable handwriting, "If something happens to me, someone needs to know the truth. Robert Chen, March 1994. March 1994, 3 months before he died in that car accident. My hands trembled as I opened to the first page. What I read there made my blood run cold. Everything I thought I knew about my father, about our family, about the night he died. It was all a lie. The first entry was dated January 1994. They found me after 8 years of thinking we were safe. They found me. I have maybe 6 months before they make their move. Sarah and the kids can never know what I really did. Dad died when I was 12. A single car accident on Highway 1001, they said. Lost control in the rain, hit a tree. Mom was devastated, but she held our family together. We moved to Oregon 6 months later. A fresh start, she called it. New town, new schools, new life. Now, sitting on the dusty workshop floor with his diary in my hands, I realized that move might not have been about grief at all. The diary was thick, maybe 200 pages, filled with Dad's precise engineering handwriting. The leather cover was genuine, expensive, not something he would have bought casually. Someone who knew my father well had hidden this deliberately, wrapping it like evidence, like something that needed to survive. I photographed the first page with my phone before reading further. The timestamp showed 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Dad would have been at Boeing, where he worked as an aerospace engineer, or at least where I thought he worked. The second entry, dated January 15, 1994, made my stomach drop. Saw Martinez today at the grocery store. He pretended not to recognize me, but I caught him taking photos with a telephoto lens from his car. Time is running out faster than I thought. Martinez, I'd never heard that name before. Dad never mentioned anyone named Martinez. I flipped through more pages, entry after entry filled with names I didn't recognize, places we'd never been, events that never happened, at least not in the version of our family history I knew. References to the Detroit job, the Castellano family, witness protection protocol, my father, the quiet Boeing engineer who helped me with algebra homework and coached Little League on weekends, had been living a completely different life. February 3, 1994, had to burn the safety deposit box contents today. Sarah asked why I was so jumpy lately, told her work stress. She doesn't suspect anything, but Tommy keeps asking why I check the locks 3 times every night. Tommy, that was me. I did remember Dad's obsession with checking locks, windows, the security system he'd installed that seemed excessive for our quiet Seattle suburb. Mom always said it was because of break-ins in the neighborhood, but reading this now, I realized he wasn't protecting us from random burglars. March 8, 1994. Castellano's nephew got out of prison last week. Word is he's asking questions about the missing money from the Detroit operation. The marshals said we might need to relocate again if the heat gets too intense. Marshals, witness protection, missing money from Detroit. I rushed to my laptop and searched Castellano Detroit 1980s crime family. The results made my hands shake. Vincent Castellano, convicted of racketeering and murder in 1987, largely based on testimony from a former associate who disappeared into witness protection. The associate's name was redacted in every news article, but the timeline matched perfect. Back to Dad's workshop, I started pulling up loose floorboards, checking behind panels. In a metal box behind the water heater, I found a manila envelope containing photocopies of documents, FBI debriefing transcripts, relocation paperwork, and a Michigan driver's license from 1985 with Dad's photo. But a different name, Michael Romano. The timestamps on the FBI documents were damning. Subject Michael Romano provided crucial testimony regarding Castellano organization financial operations, specifically the laundering of approximately $2.3 million through Detroit construction contract. My father wasn't Robert Chen, aerospace engineer, he was Michael Romano, former mob accountant, turned government witness. Everything clicked into place. Our sudden move, mom's paranoia, dad's mysterious work trips that never made sense. March 15, 1994, it's confirmed. Vincent Castellano died in prison yesterday, but his organization is still active. His nephew Tony has put a $500,000 bounty on Michael Romano, my old identity. The marshals are recommending immediate relocation, but Sarah's pregnant with our third child. I can't uproot the family again. Pregnant with a third child. I stared at that line. Mom was never pregnant in 1994. My sister Jenny was born in 1990, making her 4 then. What happened to that pregnancy? I kept reading, my heart pounding with each revelation. March 22, 1994. Sarah lost the baby today. The stress of everything, the constant fear. I think it's my fault. She doesn't know why I've been so anxious lately. How do I tell the woman I love that everything about our life together has been built on lies? That our children aren't safe because of crimes I committed 15 years ago. The manila envelope revealed more devastating truths. FBI surveillance photos showed a younger version of my father in 1985, wearing expensive suits, standing next to men whose faces were later splashed across newspapers with headlines about organized crime conviction. Bank records documented suspicious transactions, totaling millions of dollars, all bearing Dad's signature, but as Michael Romano. Most shocking was a 1986 Detroit Free Press article I'd found online. Star witness in Castellano trial found dead. The article mentioned that Michael Romano had reportedly been killed in a car bombing before he could testify, but federal sources now suspected this was staged to help him disappear completely. My father had faked his own death once before. The diary's final month contained increasingly frantic entries. April 1994. They're watching the house. Black sedan parked across the street 3 days straight. Sarah noticed it too, asked if I knew who it was. Told her it was probably nothing, but I've already started moving money to offshore accounts Jenny and Tommy can access when they turn 18. April 20th, 1994. Found a tracking device on my car this morning. They're not just watching anymore, they're preparing to move. I've recorded everything on cassette tapes, hidden them where only Sarah can find them. If something happens to me, she'll need proof of everything to protect the kids. The last entry dated April 23, 1994, the day he died. Meeting Martinez tonight. He claims he can get Castellano's people to back off if I return what I took. It's obviously a trap, but maybe if they eliminate me they'll leave my family alone. Sarah and the kids deserve a chance at a normal life. I drove straight to Mom's assisted living facility. The diary clutched in my passenger seat like evidence in a murder trial. My hands were still shaking when I knocked on her door at 9 p.m. Tommy, what's wrong? Mom opened the door in her bathrobe, immediately sensing something catastrophic. I held up the diary. Her face went completely white. Where did you find that? Her voice was barely a whisper. Dad's workshop, behind the baseboard, just like he knew someone would look there eventually. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. Mom, I know everything. Michael Romano, the Castellano family, witness protection, the baby you lost. She collapsed into her armchair, suddenly looking every one of her 73 years. For a long moment, she just stared at the diary, tears streaming down her cheeks. I begged him to destroy that thing, she finally said, but he insisted someone needed to know the truth if anything happened to us. The car accident wasn't an accident. No, her voice cracked. Your father sacrificed himself to save us. Martinez called that afternoon, said if Robert met him alone they'd consider the debt settled. Your father knew it was suicide, but he also knew they'd never stop hunting us otherwise. Why didn't you ever tell me? Tell Jenny? Mom wiped her eyes with a tissue. Because the marshals said we were still potentially at risk. Vincent Castellano had sons, nephews, associates who might someday connect Robert Chen to Michael Romano. We moved to Oregon, changed our routines completely, and prayed his sacrifice was enough. And the cassette tapes he mentioned. She walked to her bedroom closet, returning with a shoebox containing 4 audio cassettes labeled with dates from April 1994. Your father's confession, everything he did, everyone he worked with, where he hid money for you and Jenny. I've been waiting 20 years to decide whether you needed to hear them. That night, I listened to all 4 cassette tapes. Dad's voice, recorded just days before his death, methodically explained every detail of his former life. The money he'd embezzled from the Castellano organization, $2.3 million, was still sitting in offshore accounts under false identities. He'd planned for Jenny and me to inherit it on our 18th birthdays, but Mom had decided the money was too dangerous to ever touch. Blood money, she called it on the tapes. I'd rather work 3 jobs than give my children anything connected to that world. She had worked 3 jobs. All those years I thought we were struggling, because Dad's life insurance wasn't enough. We were actually sitting on a fortune that could have changed everything. But Mom was right. That money came with invisible strings attached to dangerous people. The diary revealed something else crucial. Dad hadn't just been an accountant for the mob. He'd been documenting everything, secretly gathering evidence for the FBI long before he officially became a witness. Those final months in 1994, he wasn't just running from criminals, he was protecting information that had put dozens of organized crime members behind bars. I drove home with a decision to make. Jenny deserved to know the truth about our father, but did she deserve the burden of carrying these secrets? Did her children need to grow up wondering if someone might someday connect the dots? Ultimately, I decided to keep the diary but destroy the cassette tape. Some truths are too dangerous to preserve. I told Jenny that Dad had been braver than we ever knew, which was completely honest. I just didn't tell her exactly how brave or what that bravery had cost our family. The diary now sits in my safe, a testament to a man who chose his family's safety over his own life.